Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, we want to see some noise because I can see a lot of HPCL people and they are used to that kind of noise. Yeah, thanks for telling me that. And I always find that the sessions at 2 o'clock are the best sessions simply because we don't have to run out for our lunch. So today, as we all know, we are gathered here for the circular economy. I mean, what it means. And for most of us in India, I think circular economy is what we have been used to all our lives. It's the way our parents lived, and all the components of a circular economy, which are totally different from a linear economy that we are now used to in our world, where we just take, use, and destroy things, and it becomes complete waste. In our olden days, our parents used to buy things and they used to live forever. And that's typically what a circular economy is. So some components of circular economy is like reduce, reuse, recycle. They are designed for longevity. They are supposed to be reused and shared, recycling and upcycling, a lot of renewable energy getting generated in this process. So that is what a circular economy is all about. And friends, I think we need to worry about a fact that you might have heard that Earth, there's a concept called Earth Overshoot Day, which means we are using the resources available on our Mother Earth in not 1 year, but what we is supposed to be regenerated in 1 year, we are using in 6, 7, 8 months. So in 2024, that day was August 1st, and in the this century itself, before the turn of the century, we will need two Earths to support us, and obviously we are not going to Mars. If we are not going to Mars in the next near future, the only way is to have a sustainable lifestyle. And for that to happen, we need to recycle, reuse, and which is called a circular economy. We have a great panel here today with us, and I think it would be in our interest now to listen to them. And they'll be talking about valorization of waste plastics by chemical recycling, repurposing of EV batteries, unlocking the potential of e-fuels, and also we'll learn a little about the carbon market mechanism in India. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker who will be discussing about valorization of waste plastics by chemical recycling. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Binesh Vijayam Kanattukara. He is a research manager at IOCL Faridabad. And can we hear for him? He has 14 years of experience in heterogeneous catalysis, petrochemicals, chemical recycling, and pyrolysis. He holds a bachelor in chemistry from the University of Calicut, a master's in applied chemistry from Anna University, and a PhD in chemical engineering with a focus on heterogeneous catalysts from Busan National University, South Korea. So over to you, Dr. Binish. All the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind introduction. A very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of IEW and IOCL management for giving me the opportunity to present this work. So, the topic of today's my topic is valorization of waste plastic by chemical recycling, creating a sustainable future through circular economy. So I'll be touching up some of the works what we have carried at our IOCL center, and I'll be sharing its result. This is the disclaimer slide. So whatever I speak or show or present here, that is only my personal views, and my organization will not shall not be accountable or liable for the same. So starting with a very general introduction about the waste plastic generation in the global and the Indian scenario. So globally, around 353 million tons of waste plastic is generated. Out of that, around 9% is recycled, and 19% is sent to incinerator for processing, and 50% is sent for landfilling. The remaining left uncollected. But in other case, if you look the Indian scenario, India generates around 9.4 million tons of waste plastics, and around 60 percentage of this waste plastics is recycled. This is much higher than that of global scenario, and around 40 percentage is left uncollected or littered. Nowadays the term single use plastic or SCP, that is very common. You can see the news about the ban of single use plastics in media, social forums, or in research report. The reason being, this is the major plastics which is coming out of the as the waste in the waste plastic management system. So let's see what is a single use plastic. It is often referred to as a disposable plastics, commonly used as a plastic packaging, and it is intended to be used only once before they are thrown away or recycled. A world without plastics we can't think of. So plastic as such, it is not bad, it is a boon to the human society, but we have to use it or dispose it responsibly. So you can see the classification of plastics. Depending upon the behavior of the heat, it can be classified into thermoplastics and thermoset, and depending upon the structure, it can distinguish between homopolymer and copolymer. You can see the in different plastic products there are RIC code, that is the resin identification code, that will identify from which resin, plastic resin, the product has prepared or synthesized. So for the PET it is 1, for PP it is 5. So this RIC code will helps in the segregation and the recycling of the plastics. This is the typical composition of the MSW in India. Around 50 percentage of the MSW constitute of the organic waste, and around 29 percentage it is the inert slit construction waste. Remaining are the recyclable waste, and plastic constitute only the 4 percentage. This is the plastic waste management hierarchy. This is the cornerstone of the modern plastic waste management policy. You can see that the most preferred one is the prevention and minimization, followed by the reuse, recycling, and energy recovery. The least favored option is the disposal. These are the different routes of plastic waste management which has been followed worldwide. First one is the landfilling. Due to the very high volume to weight ratio of the plastics, this is not desirable, as well as it required a huge area of land. And mechanical recycling, this is the reprocessing of the plastic into similar products which are having the performance same or less compared to that of the virgin plastics. But however, the mechanical recycling of the waste plastic is having a mixed contaminated waste and the other contaminants, it is very difficult. Then coming to biological recycling, this can be applied only to the biodegradable polymers. So and at some typical condition, and also the separation of the biodegradable polymers from a normal polymer is also very difficult. Then comes the incineration technology. Nowadays in most of the countries, this incineration technology is less preferred, as it produces some toxic gases like dioxins, furans, and all. Now coming to the state of art technology is the processing of the plastic waste through chemical recycling, which involves the pyrolysis process and converting into the fuels and chemicals. Nowadays you can see the majority of the plastics are sent to the landfill, or it is processed in the incinerator. But you can see 100% of plastic recycling can be realized by 2040, and chemical recycling is expected to grow exponentially in the near future. The global plastic crisis that affects the economy as well as the ecosystem, that makes us to think to shift from a traditional linear economy model to a circular economy model. In a traditional linear economy model, the raw materials are taken and it is processed to produce the products, and it is consumed by the consumers until it is discarded. There is no concern about the carbon footprint at all. It prioritizes the profitability over the sustainability. However, if you look the circular economy, it is a business driven approach which enables the economic growth along with the sustainable production, sustainable consumption, followed by the recycling. Let's see what work we have done to solve this plastic waste management. If you look the plastic waste in India, it comprises 76% comprises of the polyolefins. That is the polyethylene and polypropylene. So we have processed this waste polyolefin, the comprises of the polyethylene and polypropylene, and through a chemical recycling process using a catalytic pyrolysis, and we have developed our own in-house catalyst and converted this waste polyolefin into olefin-rich pyrolysis oil, which was further processed in the FCC unit of the refinery. This is the experimental result of the catalytic pyrolysis. You can see three type of products we have obtained: solid, liquid, and gas. And you can see the major liquid product, the maximum liquid product of around 70% we have obtained using the feed 3 and catalyst 2. No polymeric residue was obtained in any of the reaction. The only residue was the coke deposited on the catalyst. However, the coke yield was less than 5%. This is the Pona distribution of the liquid product. Our catalyst we have designed in such a way that we should the liquid product should contain maximum amount of olefins. So you can see the feed 3, which has given the maximum olefin yield of more than 99% using the catalyst 1, catalyst 2, and catalyst 3. After that, we have processed this pyrolysis oil in the FCC unit. So Indian Oil as an organization, it is promoting the sustainability through circular economy. So co-processing of the pyrolysis oil in the FCC unit of refinery is a logical step for achieving the goals of circular economy. Accordingly, we have processed around 20% of plastic pyrolysis oil in the FCC unit of refinery. And you can see there is an increase in the first case. One is the base case without adding the pyrolysis oil. And you can see an increase in the gasoline content and the LPG content after processing the processing with the pyrolysis oil. This is the olefin weight percentage that we got after processing with the pyrolysis oil in the FCC unit. You can see there is an increase in the lower olefin content, that is the C2, C3, and C4 content after processing the pyrolysis oil. And if you separate this C2 and C3, this can be processed. This can be separated and processed in the polymerization plant. Then we can produce the polyethylene and polypropylene. Thus, we can establish the circularity and the circular economy of the plastics. Here you can see the IOCL foray into chemical recycling for crafting a sustainable and greener future for all. Here we have the technology for converting the waste plastic into hydrocarbon oil, to monomers, to value-added chemicals, to value-added waxes. In addition to that, we have the technology for converting the biomass into bio-oil. To conclude, refiners around the globe replacing the portion of the crude oil input originating from the fossil fuel due to new regulations and transition to develop more sustainable process. So our present invention provides a sustainable, green, and circular solution to the plastic menace and is in sync with the government initiative towards a greener and cleaner India. So friends, it is a higher time we should act responsibly, and we should practice 3 R's, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle. And today or tomorrow we should drive ourselves to achieve the vision of the circularity, sustainability, and circular economy of the waste plastics. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Binish. It was really a very informative presentation and the full house here tells us how this subject is close to our heart. And I'm sure after the order which was passed many thousands and thousands of miles away from our country, which says that now we can use plastic straws again, and I understand that country uses almost like 400 million plastic straws every day. So there will be a lot of work for you, and you can do a lot of paralysis because we are still worried about sharks. So I think yes, that's very very important and timely. Thank you very much. Can we have another round of applause for Dr. Benish? Yeah, thank you. And if you have any questions around this after the session, you can connect with him, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Yeah. So now it's our turn to talk about something which is again very, very close to our hearts as we talk about the EVs and the batteries. We always generally discuss that what do we do with the batteries. So today we have a presentation on repurposing of EV batteries, and we have Mr. Hari Om Vishkarma with us from NTPC Limited. He has been at the forefront of renewable energy innovations, and he'll be sharing his valuable insights today. He has over 13 years of experience at NTPC, specializes in engineering solar projects, energy storage, and sustainable energy management. He has a master's degree in electrical engineering from IIT Roorkee and has worked extensively on machine learning and predictive maintenance. So welcome, Hari Omji. Please come and please share your thoughts, and we'll be eagerly waiting to know how batteries are taken care of after they are used. Yeah, a big round of applause for him. And I think we need more energy when we are talking of batteries. So they are supposed to charge us. Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, all. I hope all of you have a fantastic start today at IEW 25. So, myself, Hariom Vishwakarma, and I am from NTPC Renewable. Today, I will present the idea of using retired EV batteries as energy storage, and this concept will increase the sustainability of our green energy transition and also the concept of circular economy in EV batteries. So, I will start my presentation with the tweets of our Prime Minister. In the first tweet, our Prime Minister at G20 summit, he talked about the sustainable development and the green energy transition. In the second tweet that has shown here, he's talking about the circular economy, and he highlighted that the three R's like reuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle are the cultural part of Indian society. So, to reduce the effect of global warming, India has committed to achieve the net zero carbon emission by 2070. And to achieve this target, we have to shift our energy needs from a fossil fuel based energy system to non fossil fuel based energy system like solar and wind. And energy storage will play a crucial role in this green energy transition. Considering the current scenario, battery energy storage seems the most viable technically and commercially solution for energy storage. Transport sector is the second is the another uh, uh, is the another major source of CO2 emission, accounting around 13.5% of the energy related emission. Also, the fuel used for transport is mostly come from the import, and it is affecting our balance sheet of the country. We have around 132 billion of the import bill for the last financial year, and again, that IC engine vehicles are the major source of air pollution.
Good
That we
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to the third edition of IEW 2025. The show timings for today are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please take care of your belongings. Thank you.
Uh, and all of these effect of the transport sector can be reduced by adopting the e-mobility. Indian government has an ambitious target to achieve 13% of the vehicle sales to be electrical by 2030. And there is a well-defined roadmap by the Indian government. So the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan was launched in 2013, and then there is a FAME 1 scheme known as faster adoption of manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles, in which financial subsidy was given for the adoption of e-vehicles. It is followed by FAME 2, then it is extended FAME 2, and now currently a PM e-drive scheme is valid from October 2024, in which mostly the focus is mostly on a commercial vehicles. And due to all these initiatives and policies of Indian government, the growth of e-vehicle sale is remarkable. The year-on-year growth is almost 40%. But this growth will create a huge demand of batteries, and after the usage, the wastage of that batteries will create another problem. So, uh, the huge demand of batteries for e-mobility and energy transition has created a battery conundrum, a challenge to make batteries more sustainable and recyclable. Lithium-ion batteries, which are widely used in EVs, requires critical minerals like lithium, iron, cobalt, nickel, etc. And a huge demand, it is a challenge to meet this huge demand. And after usage, disposal of these batteries is again create an environmental challenge. Recycling is one option, but the current capacity of recycling facilities are highly inadequate, and the recycling process are also inefficient. A study done by Deloitte in the European market, uh, it is found that the, mm, the it is found that existing lithium the lithium ion batteries created a negative revenue by recycling. Means the recycling cost is more than the cost of the material that is extracted after the recycling. So user has to pay approximately £40, £40 per kilowatt hour, and the battery supply, free battery supply to the recycler. So one of the solution to avoid this battery conundrum is to adopt a circular economy for the EV batteries. So here is a simple example, as my colleague has shared, the difference between a linear and circular economy. So one another part is added into it is the repurposing or reusing. Uh, in this slide, we have just a life cycle assessment of a normal EV batteries. The EV batteries currently available in the market, the normal manufacturer are giving a warranty of around 8 year or 1.6 lakh kilometers. During this period, the state of health of the battery will not go below the 80%. It is suggested by the OEM that the battery should be replaced when once that state of health will go below the 80%. So if we consider the mileage of around 2 lakh kilometer for a battery, it consumes only the 1000 cycles during that automotive life. But the normal life cycle of a lithium ion batteries is around 4000 to 5000 cycles. Even the recently, some suppliers are claiming that the life cycle will be around 8000 to 10,000 cycle. But we will take a conservative approach, and it is estimated that around 3000 cycle are still remaining in the EV batteries, in which is not suitable for a vehicle but suitable for another storage energy storage purpose. And if we consider one cycle of charging and discharging per day, then the total around 9 years that retired batteries can be used for up to 9 years. So this is a multi-life approach of a EV batteries, in which once the battery is manufactured, it is used in the EV, and for secondary application, it will go through some processes like testing, sorting, reassembling, and sometimes remanufacturing to increase the usability spectrum of that battery. So this presentation is about to create a awareness regarding the untapped market of using retired batteries as a energy storage in India. So using second life batteries for energy storage has a many advantages, mainly environmental and economical. One of the studies that is done by McKinsey, According to it, if a second life battery is used for energy storage, it will generate around 450 ton of CO2 equivalent per megawatt hour as compared to the new battery. Again, it has second retired batteries have an economical advantage over the new batteries, and again, it will answer our sustainability problem also. So again, for the application, so second life batteries can be used at any place where the energy storage is required, just like for renewable energy integration, for like for power smoothing and peak saving. It is also used as a backup power for residential or commercial building, and also in a data center. It can also be used as a microgrid, as a self-sustaining microgrid, and also for energy arbitrage. So here are some example of the real world uses of retired EV batteries for energy storage. This example is from India. It is situated in a Gumla village of Jharkhand, where two energy storage solutions are used in a microgrid, in which Tata Tagore batteries are used. The system was commissioned in 2023, and since then, for almost 1.5 years, it is working satisfactorily. This is then another example from USA, where the location is Lancaster, California, and the owner is B2U. Capacity of the storage is around 28 megawatt hour, and the repurposed batteries of Nissan and Honda EVs are used. The main purpose of this project is to store the energy during the low cost hour and supply it during the peak demand to generate the revenue. These are the examples of some other projects implemented in Europe, like Europe and US. So the biggest one is in Texas that I know. It is 53 megawatt hour capacity, and some others are in Netherlands, Germany, Spain, and UK. So, but also this retired EV batteries has several advantages, and but there are many challenges right now in the India. There is no battery sourcing available in the market right now, and also the agreement for using that repurposed batteries, an agreement with the OEMs is required, so that the data for usage and its initial life is required to calculate the battery health and predicting its future degradation, and also ensuring the safety during the second life. Also, the mathematical and statistical models available right now, like machine learning and artificial intelligence, they are helpful in optimizing the performance and extending the battery life with safety. So here is the conclusion of this presentation. Just like the e-mobility, with increase in e-mobility, there is a lot of batteries is coming in a near future, and government policy and support is required to adopt these batteries for second life storage. Researchers and industrials support is required to make a well-defined protocol and standard for the safe use of these batteries. And with Sanskrit verse from a Bhagavad Purana, I want to conclude this presentation. We all have one planet and limited resources, so we have to use them all very judiciously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harikom Vishwakarma. You have actually shared with us a whole new way of looking at the issue of used batteries, and I was almost able to link it to a bypass surgery. You know, when the heart gets old and you do bypass surgery, it becomes new, and that was like giving second life to batteries. Very well appreciated, and I can also see a lot of interest among the audience. I mean, it's almost like cold play, so many people coming and going back because there are no chairs left for this session. So really appreciate the participation of everyone here. And now we'll move on to our third speaker of the day, Ms. Ria Sethi. She is a process manager, methanol at Air Liquide Global ENC Solutions. She'll be presenting on unlocking e-fuels and other hydrogen derivatives potential with Air Liquide Lurgy Methanol Solutions. She is a process manager, as I said, for syngas and methanol line at Frankfurt, has expertise in solution development and client support for methanol. Prior to joining Air Liquide in 21, she has spent 8 years in syngas technologies and holds a BE in chemical engineering and an MBA in marketing and operations from Punjab University. So all the very best to you, Ria. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Mr. Garg. The topic of my presentation is unlocking e-fuels and other hydrogen derivatives potential with Air Liquide Lurgi methanol solutions. So I will have this presentation in 3 parts. In the first part, I will introduce what is methanol, how it fits in the circular economy, because I think not everyone must be familiar with what is methanol. In the second part, we will go through the technical solutions that Air Liquide can offer. And in the third part, we will look at the e-fuels and other hydrogen derivatives. But first, allow me to say a few words about my company. So Air Liquide as a group is quite a big group. It is spread over 60 countries with more than 66,000 employees. And in 2023, it had a revenue of more than 27.6 billion euros. It's a big company. The main line of business is industrial gases. And the place from where I come from is engineering and construction. We contribute only 2% of the group revenue, but we provide the engineering services to the group as well as to third-party customers outside the group. So let's come to methanol. So methanol is a very simple block, a very simple molecule with 1 carbon, 4 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. So chemical formula CH3OH. It's a water clear liquid, so it looks just like water, but of course you cannot drink it. It is also known as wood alcohol. So it was first made by the destructive distillation of wood. And there are different grades of methanol which are available in the market, the most common ones being grade AA and IMCA grade, which correspond to 99.858% methanol. How it fits in the circular economy is, as I said, you need some carbon and some hydrogen to make methanol. So you can capture carbon from some source, for example, pulp and paper industry. You get your hydrogen from water just by electrolysis, and you put it in our proprietary methanol technology. What you get is methanol. This methanol can be used as marine fuel. It can be used for making propylene. It can be used for making olefins and then sustainable aviation fuel. And there are n number of chemicals that can be made from methanol. It is important because the global methanol demand is increasing. In 2024, the demand was 94 million tons, and by 2029, it is expected to increase to 110 million tons. And there is a new market segment which is coming up, which you can see in green, that is the bunker fuel. So bunker fuel is basically the fuel that is used for ships. How we can support? Because we are the market leaders in methanol. We have been providing methanol technology since 1960s. The focus of the clients at that time was to build bigger in a single train, and it was mostly coming from fossil feedstocks like natural gas and coal. But in 1990s, our experts already started looking at how to make methanol from CO2, and since 2020s, we have been offering this technology commercially. We have a big portfolio, but I only indicate the technobricks that are important for methanol here. So we have our own technobrick for electrolyzer. We have a wide portfolio of carbon capture technologies, which can be solvent-based or which can be cryogenic carbon capture technologies. And then we have our methanol production proprietary reactor, water-cooled methanol reactor. The second pathway you see on the slide below is if you don't have CO2, if you have biomass or biofeedstock, you can still process this and condition it, and then we can feed it to our methanol synthesis reactor, and then you get your methanol out of it. Let's look at the sustainable production of methanol, and let's look at this technobricks one by one. Our trade name for e-methanol is power methanol. And the USP of our technology is because we are using renewable energy to make hydrogen, we can take care of all the fluctuations in the renewable energy, if any. And we can also manage the feedstock impurity because CO2 source, wherever it comes from, it will have different impurities. So these are the major technobricks. As I mentioned, you need hydrogen, you need CO2, and then that's it. You need some power and you can make your methanol. Let's look at the heart of methanol technology. So Lurgi water-cooled methanol reactor is our proprietary reactor where the catalyst is filled on the tube sides and the gas, which is the feed gas that has hydrogen, CO, and CO2. CO is optional, okay, if you only have CO2. You can feed it into the reactor. The reaction is exothermic, so it releases heat. The reactor is having water on the shell side, so this heat released is used to generate steam. What you get is a mixture of some unconverted components and methanol. The unconverted components can be then recycled back, and this increases the yield of the process. It's, it's a very robust process, it's a very easy to operate process, and it's a well-proven process. We have this technology based on two pillars. As I mentioned, that we have built plants with our technologies since 1960, so we can cover a huge range of capacities, right from 15 MTPD to 5400 into 2 MTPD. And we are very well comfortable with the equipment design, operating principles, execution strategies around these plants. The second pillar is the R&D. We have our own pilot plants which are operating in Frankfurt, Innovation Campus Frankfurt, Germany, which you are also welcome to visit if you want to. We test different compositions of the gases there. We test the catalyst, how the plants will perform, and we have developed our own in-house kinetics for CO2 to methanol. So these are the two pillars with which we are providing this technology to our customers. Moving on to another technobrick, that is the electrolyzer technobrick. It's something that's not on paper. Our group is investing heavily on electrolyzers, even for decarbonization of its own assets. It can be seen like from 2018, we had in operation a 1.25 megawatt electrolyzer based on PEM technology. And now in 2025, we are almost ready with 200 megawatt plant in France. This is our flagship project, and it will start soon. Another major milestone in this journey was our joint venture with Siemens. We have a gigafactory in Germany, Berlin, with Siemens, where the stacks of these electrolyzers are built. Let's move on to the third technobrick, that is CO2. You cannot use a single technology for capturing CO2 from any source. The CO2 concentration can vary from one source to another. For example, from fired heaters, the CO2 concentration can be very less. But if we talk about oxy-combustion, like cement, lime, and power plants, the CO2 concentration can be very high. So we can really advise you what CO2 capture technology fits you the best, what is more economical, and for this we have solvent-based technologies, for example, Rectizo, Recticap, and then we also have our cryogenic-based technologies, that is CryoCap, and again, under CryoCap, there are different technologies or portfolio of technologies depending upon the industry that we talk about. Again, it's just not on paper, not just R&D. There have been many studies, projects, and awards, feats that have been awarded to us around the globe. For example, Department of Energy in US, Innovation Fund Europe, and also in Japan. So to wrap up or to summarize, we have all the technobricks available in one house, and we are the only company which owns all the technobricks in one place. So we are very well capable of integrating all these technobricks, whether it's electrolysis, whether it's CO2 capture, or whether we are talking about our proprietary methanol technology. The water form can be then recovered and reused for electrolysis. Let's move on to the third part, that is e-fuels and downstream derivatives. Here I would like to highlight a project called MARE. It is an EU-funded project. M square stands for Maritime Methanol. So the objective of this project is to produce methanol grade that is suitable for running ships, that is suitable as marine fuel, and it will use the biogenic CO2 as the source. It will use renewable hydrogen as the source, and by 2027, we will get a grade of methanol which will produce at least 80% less CO2 emissions as compared to the conventional marine fuels. And the unique thing about this EU-funded project is that we have also MAN, M-A-N, on board, and MAN is a specialist in building engines for ships which can run on methanol. They will be testing the methanol that is produced in the ICF, Innovation Campus Frankfurt, And it helps in covering the whole value chain and helps in doing the whole technical evaluation. There are different partners involved here. So the main coordinator is Air Liquide. As I mentioned, MAN. We also have MESC, which is a shipping company, just to provide an industrial perspective. In addition, there are various academic partners in Europe that are involved in Greece, France, Netherlands, Italy. So that was Mare. The second option or the second solution that I would like to present is methanol to propylene. Once you have your green methanol from CO2 captured from biogenic source and renewable hydrogen, you get your methanol, and that can be converted into propylene using methanol to propylene technology. So what we get is a mixture of olefin, propylene olefins, and these are something that can be used for making plastics. And as Mr. Binish already mentioned, we can recycle plastics. So it adds one more step of recycle or contributes to the circular economy. In addition, we get some byproducts like gasoline or LPG, which one can think of mixing with the gasoline pool. Um, Another application of propylene, which is being investigated right now, is conversion of these olefins into sustainable aviation fuel. So you can convert the CO2 you can capture in this chain to sustainable aviation fuel, and then you have your whole circle complete. With this, I would just like to conclude that we are one-stop shop for supporting circular economy. We have different solutions with us. I talk mainly about power methanol here, where we convert the pure CO2 to methanol based on our reference technology, and we are able to handle the fluctuations as well as CO2 impurities. The second one, which I would just briefly mention, is LP methanol. If you do not have CO2, but if you have your biomass or biogas, for example, from anaerobic digesters, you can also convert it to methanol. And we have been designing plants which can provide the technology since decades now. So we know what we are doing. Thank you. In case of any discussions, questions, please contact me.
Thank you, Ms. Ria Sethi. So, in earlier times in jest, we used to say that vehicles one day would run on air and water. So, typically, methanol seems to be the silver bullet, and it is a solution for everything. And it's a fuel of the future, definitely. And I think CO2 from air, not typically because not concentrated, cement plants, and green hydrogen from water is the solution for future. So, a big round of applause for her. No, I think it has to be louder. Yes, thank you. So now we move on towards the last presentation we have for the day. And it is something that not many of us in our country are still used to, which is more of a Europe and a US kind of a concept. But yes, it's picking up in India, and we need to learn this art so that our projects become meaningful in a true sense. So we are honored to have with us today uh, Vinita Kaushik. She's a principal consultant with carbon management at G1 Nova International LLC. She'll be presenting her perspective on how carbon markets can play a vital role in driving emission reductions, achieving sustainability goals, and complying with international standards. We are excited to hear from her on measures for optimization of carbon markets. So by now you would have guessed the topic for the day would be the optimization of carbon market mechanism in India. A big round of applause for her. All the very best.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind words. Measures for Indian carbon market optimization. This is a topic on which, okay, is it okay? Okay. All right. So, when we talk about putting the best foot forward, Indian carbon markets is exactly a same kind of the thing which comes to my mind, which India has taken to be on the right trajectory, at the right pace to achieve its net zero goals of being net zero by 2070 and reducing its carbon intensity by 45% from 2005 levels by 2030. These are some of the tall orders, and Indian carbon markets are definitely going to serve those ones. Carbon markets are one of the tools in a wide array of the toolkits which are available out there to achieve the mitigation emissions at various in the various scales at various technologies. Thank you. But this is one of the most important tools because it gives a flexibility to almost all the stakeholders present into the system. For example, regulators have the flexibility how they want to design it, and the participants has the flexibility whether they want to participate with the carbon markets or they want to adopt their own measures for achieving these mitigation targets. How to make sure this tool, this such important tool remains sharpened is how what I'm going to talk about today. India, given the landscape it has a various challenges. It is a very uniquely positioned country on the global map because of the sheer size of it, the where it is, and it is yet to reach the peak of its energy consumption, which is predicted to be achieved at the year of 2047. That means that the carbon markets need to be designed to reduce the emissions intensity, which is not the case with the other developed market carbon markets. There, the achievement of the carbon markets objective lies around how we are reducing the absolute emission levels. With that, I'll open my presentation and I'm going to talk about what are those top three measures which we can adopt by taking the learning experiences from the other markets. Because Indian carbon market, though it's unique, but it shares a lot of denominators when it comes across how a market should function. There are a lot of common building blocks by which a rich experience can be learned from. So so the three areas or the three building blocks which goes into the foundation of the carbon markets are number one and most important, the price discovery mechanism. How the price are getting discovered. This is important because price gives a very important signal to the market, how it's stable, and the quality of the price defines the health of a market. It also gives the investors the much needed confidence to invest into the market. Second, we are going to talk about the carbon market transparency. How transparent a market is. What is that level of information which is available to all its entities at the similar level, which gives them a level playing field, whether it's a small entity or a larger entity, and thus defining itself as a fair place. Last, I'm going to talk the room through what are those preventions of carbon market manipulation measures which needs to be kept in place so that not one specific player or a group of specific player can collude together and corner the market, thus leading the carbon market prices which are not the true signals of what it should be. Carbon market price discovery. It not only enables an entity to make decision that what is that right price and what are those pathways which they should enter into a market. It is also something which also decides on the revenue lines of a participating player. Any player has three important questions to ask before they make a decision whether to enter into a market or not. So the first is what their own emission portfolio or the profile looks like. What are those various pockets of emissions which are there in the part of their own value chain? For example, a cement plant will have a different emission pocket versus a petrochemical plant. Second question is, once they have identified what is their emission portfolio looks like, the next one is, what are those various pathways which are available, which a player should adopt to enter into a emission mitigation plan. And this is one of the most important because this is where I find that the market challenges and the market lacks a lot of awareness when it comes about where they should start from, what are those pathways and how they should look. So it basically gives you a direction that this is a specific direction which you should adopt for a specific kind of emission profile. Last one is once we have identified all those pathways, how do they sit apple to apple? What are their comparability factors when it comes about which pathway to adopt? Once it becomes clear that when to enter the carbon markets, at what prices for a specific player, it all depends then how a market discovery mechanism functions. What are those factors, what goes into it? So here the regulatory bodies plays a very important role by setting those emission caps. Emission caps actually decides what is that supply which goes into a market which looks like, and hence it plays a role in price setting. What is that liquidity of the market? When I say liquidity, apart from the number of players in a market at the same point, it also decides, it also defines with what ease a supplier can sell its supply at a point which they want and the number which they want. And similarly, a buyer can buy those credits at the price point which they are looking for and the volume which they are looking for. Next one is carbon price information related to the markets. It helps them to give a perspective and the view to design their own portfolio. Maybe I want to enter into the market, let's say in February, but my revenues do not allow me to do that. Maybe I'm more comfortable around November time. That's when my inventory and my cash flows comes in. So it all depends. This current price information, when a player tracks a pattern around it, they can actually predict how the markets are going to behave. Next one is what is the demand of the carbon credits looks like? Who are those various players who makes up that demand and where the demand pockets rise? Last one is since it's a trading, there will always be a speculation of around prices on what kind of credits are trading in the market. Carbon market price discovery has an important provisions when it comes about the efficient price discovery. When I say efficient price discovery, it means that the right price point where an emission mitigation can take place, it's a tipping balance which tips off can take your market into an erratic manner. Hence, to ensure that it's the right price for the players, rules plays a very important role. Rules around who are those participating entities, what are the size of that entity. So for example, in Indian carbon market right now, only the heavy emitters are the obligated entities which has to be on the platform, but it is also open for the non-obligated entities which are completely voluntary basis. Second is what is the technologies on which the carbon credits can be created, and hence it decides what kind of supplier portfolio we are going to witness on the carbon markets. For example, there may be renewable, there may be removals such as biochar. It totally depends which kind of innovation we or the government wants to flourish in a specific sector, and also they want to keep maintain the momentum into. Then what kind of transactions can take place? Right now, since we are talking about exchanges, it's only exchange oriented standardized transaction which takes place. But at the same time, since it's market, there are always bilateral contracts which happens, let's say, around on the corners of conferences like these. There may be market deals which happens around the rooms. So they give a very important cue on around the prices so that it gives a perspective, it sets the mindset of the market. Last one is what are the rules around vulnerability of how the fraud can be controlled in the market. Once we decide the prices, then there are occasions when the markets gets erratic, it gets volatile. Hence, the proper containment measures need to be in place. And when I say containment measure, the market volatility can either go in the north side or go in the south side. When in the south side, like on the lower price movement, the measures such as soft price floor, which are a little flexible in nature, or the hard price flooring, which are more fixed in the nature, can be put in place. When we talk about the high side price movement, it's mostly hard price or the fixed price ceiling which are there in the international markets. There is also mechanism midway, which is about combining the two, thus giving a price corridor creation, which gives you a kind of a buffer zone to stay into that same lane. This is a very simple chart of when these containment measures are put into place, how the market behaviors takes place. It's mostly flat, it stays the flat price, and then it takes the cascades when we talk about the corridor pricing mechanisms. The second optimization measure which I'm going to speak about is transparency. Transparency is very important to build the integrity of the market, and it is more important in today's scenario because of what has happened in the carbon market in past 2 3 years when the players has lost the trust around the functioning of the market. So it's all more important. The second one is how it can be defined is regulators again play a very important role, and the second pillar is around information accessibility, how easily the information is there. On the regulation side, what are those regulations and the availability of information about future policy, what it looks like, so that if I have to make an investment today for a project which is going to up and running of next 5 years, I need a view, I need a confidence on the regulatory side. Plus, I also need the basic understanding of the trades and the prices which happens around. When it comes on the information accessibility, the regulation defines who is going to gather that information, who is going to publish that information, what is that frequency at which the information comes out, and what are those platforms where I can get those information. So these are all the very important cornerstones which decides the relationship between the market participants and make sure that there is no collusion or cornering or manipulation of the market which is happening out there. The last measure and the third one, which I'm going to talk about, is market manipulation. It's very obvious, not need no explanation that why manipulation should not happen beyond ethical reasons. Market loses confidence. And once a market loses confidence, it loses all its investment. And that is the primary objective of collecting investment and putting it into the right channels. So the market prevention, the fraud prevention can happen at two levels, one at system infrastructure level, and the second is legal infrastructure level. At system infrastructure, it needs to be ensured that there are basic provisions which are in place, which checks the identity of the players, which make sure that the right number of players are playing into the market. That means that no single deal can actually influence the transaction of a carbon market. Second, they need to be on the more on the hardware side. There needs to be robust software interfaces which ensures that there are no leaks between those connections. And last one, on the system side, there need to be proper plugins which make sure that their hacking is increasingly, which is relevant around cyber attacks, are getting deterred. So what are those mechanisms are all for the part of this system infrastructure. And last one is around legal infrastructure. Legal infrastructure decides that what are those laws which prevents this market manipulation activities and make sure that the regulation is strong enough to not to give out any loopholes for the market to play a run for any other player. Around legal infrastructure, right now it's not relevant for Indian carbon markets, but it's going to see in the future when it matures more, is how it treats its carbon credits, whether it's a commodity or it's a financial instrument. Financial instruments are like any other market instruments, like which is options or forwards or futures. It does the hedging of the pricing of the carbon markets. And the system and legal infrastructure, they're individually relevant to ensure that the market stays at the highest level of integrity. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vinita Kaushik, and thanks for sharing on a subject which is lesser known and bringing some new insights. So, friends, I mean, as we come to the end of this session, what forces me to think is when a growing aspirations and a appetite for everything new in our lives, we want to experience everything good in our lives. How to really make sure that we also take care of Mother Earth, and I think the answer lies in two very critical words. One is responsibly, and the other is sustainable operations. So I today got a lot of new insights from our talented speakers and very knowledgeable presentations made by you. Compliments to each one of you, and we look for a better world henceforth. Thank you very much. Yeah.